Welcome. We're going to get started in just a moment with some chair yoga and gentle standing yoga. So for class today, it could be helpful to have a chair, obviously, or you can always sit on the floor or on your yoga mat. But it might, for something we're going to do at the end, it would be nice to have some space where you could lay on the floor. It doesn't have to be on a yoga mat. It could be on rug, carpet, but just some space where you'll lay on the floor, and we're also going to use our chair. So today I want to talk about self-care. And self-care is a very trendy term right now. It's a buzzword, and people think about, getting a manicure and a bubble, having a bubble bath and a glass of wine, or getting a massage. But self-care is much more than just this buzzword. It's really deep, nourishing things that we need to do to take care of ourselves. And with everything that's going on in the world right now, self-care that helps us replenish ourselves and nourish ourselves is more important than ever. And it can really be an act of resistance. So if you're feeling like I don't have time for self-care because I need to go out and help my family, help my community, take action for these values that I believe in, fight for social justice, I would say self-care is part of that work. Self-care, it can be a political act, an act of resistance, because we can't give from an empty cup. I don't know if you've heard this phrase before. You can't pour from an empty cup, or you can't pour from an empty well, that we have to fill our own well or fill our own cup to be able to work with others, to give to others. So today, I'm going to be talking about some concepts in yoga that I think can really be helpful for us in finding that balance of taking action out in the world and then knowing when we need to turn inward to replenish our own well, right? So I want to turn to the Yoga Sutras, which are an ancient yoga text, and the 8 limb path of yoga, specifically to the last 3 limbs from the 8 limb path. And those are dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. And so I will explain what those mean now. So dharana is kind of thought of as the beginning part of meditation. Sometimes it's translated as concentration, but I think it's more than just concentrating. And concentrating tends to make you think of like tensing and like staring hard at something. And it's not that. It's more of a contemplation, focused contemplation and easeful reflection. And it's focusing inward. It's using the previous limb, which is called pratyahara, of turning the senses inward to begin to find focus. So one way that we're not going to do here, but one common way to do dharana is through candle gazing meditation. So it's a meditation you actually do with your eyes open. And so if you've only done meditation with your eyes closed, I encourage you to try this on your own, where you light a candle and you gently just look at the candle flame. And it's not a hard stare. Again, it's not that tensing of concentration, but you're focusing. You're bringing all your awareness to observing the candle flame, and that's called tritaka. So the next step after dharana, after this focused contemplation, is dhyana, which translates as meditation. So it's the idea of moving our focus to having this total absorption, like we're totally, completely focused in meditation. And an analogy that's often given is in dharana, we're noticing each individual raindrop. Let's say it's raining. You're noticing the raindrops. And then in dhyana, it's when the raindrops merge with the stream or the river and it just all becomes water, right? So it's no longer these individual raindrops, but it's the whole river or the whole ocean. That's the idea in dhyana. in meditation. And then the third concept I want to talk about is samadhi, which translates as liberation or enlightenment. And sometimes that might seem like, oh, that's like something magical that I'll never achieve. That's impossible. Or that's only, you have to like be a yogi, like on a mountaintop, living in a cave, right? And meditate for 100 days. No, there's lots of different ways in our everyday life that we can achieve these senses of samadhi. So I just want to read a quote about it because I think it illustrates it really well. So samadhi is the state of being intensely present without a point of view. In other words, in samadhi, you perceive all points of view of reality at once, without focusing on any particular one. Virtually all of us have had a taste of this state. Some people have had this experience during worship, others during lovemaking, still others while alone in the woods. Samadhi is the state in which you are aware at a cellular level of the underlying oneness of the universe. And I really love that quote. It's from Judith Lassiter. And it's because that's what the word yoga means, is union, connection. So in samadhi, whether it happens through meditation, through a yoga asana movement practice, or some of these other things that she mentioned in the quote, it's the way that we can begin to feel that connection with one another, with nature, with the world around us, perhaps with the divine. So I think these three terms are really important when we're thinking about self-care, because we have to know when to turn inward and focus inward, to take some time for contemplation and meditation. And when we have these moments of pure joy, that's the samadhi, that pure joy, these little like sparks, right, of enlightenment, we could call them, or pure joy, however you want to think of it, that connection, that feeling totally connected with someone else, that helps us better go out and do our work in the world, right? That helps replenish our well so that we can go out and take action and do the work that we need to do right now, because there is so much going on that can completely overwhelm us. So let's take a moment to begin to put these things into practice. I know they can seem abstract. So we're going to start with a short meditation, and we're going to start with a mudra called dhyana mudra, meaning the meditation, that limb of yoga. And we're going to place one hand on top of the other and then bring your thumbs to touch. So you're forming like a circle in the space between your thumbs, and then the backs of the hands rest down in your lap. And sit up nice and tall. You could sit in a chair, or you might be sitting on the floor, maybe legs crossed, whatever's most comfortable. And whichever hand is on top, like whatever feels most natural for you is fine. So if you can relax your shoulders, your elbows might bend, you might close your eyes. So this mudra or hand position helps us to again find that easeful reflection and contemplation and focus all of our attention in meditation. So just take a moment here to notice how you're feeling. Notice your body, notice your mind, your mood. There's no right or wrong. Whatever you're feeling is valid, and it's part of your experience right now. Notice your breath. Follow it in and out. And just letting your breath stay natural for this beginning meditation. No need to change it or adjust it. And we're going to work with mantra here. So mantra is a phrase or sound that's repeated. And the mantra we're going to use is 2 syllables. It's so, hum. So, hum. So this mantra roughly translates as I am that. That. What does that mean? And I think it can mean I am that which is around me. I am everything, right? That idea of oneness with the universe, of feeling connected. I am you, you are me, I am the trees outside, the plants. And yes, maybe it might seem a little like woo-woo out there, but begin to maybe connect with who do you feel that connection with, right? Maybe there's a person in your life or a pet, or maybe gazing out the window and seeing the natural world, seeing some trees and feeling that connection to the earth. And we'll repeat this mantra, so hum, I am that, with our breath. So as you're inhaling, repeating to yourself, so, and as you're exhaling, repeating hum. So on your inhale, hum on your exhale. And just continue at the pace of your own breath. And if your mind wanders off, that's okay. Just gently bring it back to the mantra. So on your inhale, hum on your exhale. Doing this a few more times. And I think this mantra is a great way to connect with all three of these last three limbs of the 8-limb path of yoga. We're using dharana, that contemplative focus, by repeating the mantra over and over. And through that, we're getting into dhyana, a meditative state where we feel at one with those words. Feeling that connection of I am that. And that leads us to this state of samadhi, the state of liberation or connection, the idea of oneness with the world around us. I am that. So hum. Take 1 or 2 more breaths, repeating the mantra. And now I invite you to release the mudra, release your hands, place one hand on your chest, one on your belly, and just begin to lengthen and deepen your breath. Notice some gentle movement under your hands as you're breathing. And now, set an intention. Maybe your intention connects with that idea of oneness and connection. Maybe it's about something for self-care, for turning inward to replenish yourself. Just taking a moment to set it and repeat it gently to yourself. And then when you're ready, release your hands down. Just resting your hands on your legs. Now we'll just begin some movements, connecting them with our deep, even breath. So let's inhale and grow nice and tall, lengthening our spine up. With your exhale, gaze over your right shoulder, keeping your chin parallel with the ground, so not letting your chin drop. Just turning your head as much as you feel comfortable. Take one more breath here. And then slowly with your next inhale, come back through center. With your exhale, turn your head the other way. Again, trying to keep the chin parallel. Still sitting nice and tall. Take one more breath here. Inhale, come back to center. With your next exhale, drop your right ear down towards your right shoulder. Take a couple of gentle, deep breaths. You might place your right hand very gently on your head and reach your left fingertips down and out so shoulders relax. One more breath. And slowly release and lift your head up. And the hands are optional, so finding the way to do this that feels best for your body. It doesn't have to look the same as how I'm doing. Inhale here, grow tall. Exhale, left ear down towards your left shoulder. Take a moment to settle in. Notice how it feels on this side. It could feel very different. And see if you need your hand on your head here. You might not. It could be too intense. Find what feels right for you. You can always come out of a pose and movement at any time. One more breath here. And then slowly come out when you're ready. Take your time. And now we're going to move our head up and down gently. Inhaling, lifting our chin, lifting our gaze, our drishti. Exhaling, dropping our chin to our chest. Continuing to move with your breath. So now we're doing a dynamic movement of one breath, one movement. Our breath is guiding. Notice as you're inhaling, making sure that the back of your neck is staying long. It's not feeling crunched or pinched in the back of your neck. So really try to lengthen the back of your neck even as you open your throat. And now we're going to begin to add in some more movement with our whole spine, not just our cervical spine at our neck. So when you inhale next, we're going to bring our chest forward, tilt our pelvis forward, and lift our gaze and open our throat. And then when you exhale next, round your whole spine back, tilting your pelvis back, your navel comes in towards your spine as your chin comes down to your chest. And move a few times like this, seated cat and cow. Saying hello to your spine. So this is a great one if your back is feeling stiff. Now we're going to add in one more layer, if that feels good for your body. With your next inhale, sweep your arms out and back, palms face back, chest comes forward, gaze is up. Exhale, sweep your arms forward, palms in, like you're giving someone a big hug, rounding in. Drawing inward. Inhale, open. Exhale, round. Keep going at the pace of your own breath. And I think this pose really demonstrates the balance of moving outward in the world with our inhale. We're opening up. We're saying, hey, I'm doing, whatever I need to do, the work I need to do, speaking up for what I believe in. And then the exhale is the kind of drawing inward and taking a break, nourishing ourselves, taking that time for self-care to replenish our well. So do maybe one more. And then slowly sitting up nice and tall. Taking a few deep breaths here. So we always want to check in with our breath and make sure we can maintain it deep and even, long and smooth. And if at any time you're doing any movements and you realize that you can't, that your breath is getting shallow or you're holding your breath, using that as a signal to change what you're doing in the body. Maybe take a break from a pose or take a different variation. So now we're going to move our arms up to cactus arms, bending our elbows, palms forward, opening across our chest here. Again, this is a more active pose. So this is when we've replenished and now we're going out to take action in the world. But then we often need to rest. So now we're going to exhale and twist over to the right and then bring our hands down. Let our arms relax. Left hand comes to the right knee. Right hand comes towards the back of your chair or behind you. And gaze as much as you need to back behind you. Twist as much as you need to, not just from the shoulders, but think of from your torso as well. Move your hips as well if you need to. And this, I think, twists are good opportunities. We're going to stay here for a couple breaths. To not push ourselves too hard, right? We don't want to overdo our twist and hurt our back. So just kind of seeing what you need. Maybe your twist is very small and you're more gazing to the side rather than behind. Or even, you need to come out of the twist. It's up to you, right? Seeing what you need to nourish yourself. And then we'll slowly, when you're ready, we're going to come back to center with those cactus arms, bending the elbows, taking a couple breaths here, opening across your chest. And then exhale over to the other side. Gazing back behind you. Breathing deep. Again, determining how much that you need to breathe or twist, on this side, still maintaining that deep, even breath. And when you're ready, come back to center. Let's bring our arms all the way up now, overhead, reaching up for your fingertips. And with your exhale, fold forward. Bring your hands maybe to your knees. You could just stay about halfway down. Or if you want, you might begin to fold forward deeper, rounding your back if that feels okay. And bring your hands down to your feet and let your head fall down, moving inward. So slowly coming out of your forward fold, unfurling like a leaf. Again, coming back out into the world. Maybe taking a few shoulder rolls here. Inhaling up, exhaling your shoulders down your back. So finding that balance between opening up and drawing inward. So we're going to explore those same concepts now through some standing poses. So coming up to stand, and we'll use our chair. We might use it in front of us. So just see when we're going to fold forward, you might want it. So you could have it in front of you, but up to you if you're going to use it or not. So what we're going to do is find our mountain pose. So our mountain pose, we're having our feet underneath our hips. We're growing nice and tall. Reaching down, rooting down. Palms are turning forward, neck is lengthening. So strong and stable, like a mountain here. Feeling rooted, feeling grounded. And we need this stability in order to go out and take action, and I think also in order to allow us to find those moments of samadhi, of joy, of connection, of liberation. We have to come from a strong, stable place so we don't just kind of get swept away by our emotions. So this is a great place to come to find that stability. Very simple, but just standing here, rooting down through your feet and taking maybe 3 deep, even breaths. I also invite you to check in with your intention here. And then from here, we're going to begin to add in some movement. We're going to inhale our arms up. We're going to take a lateral, a side stretch, bringing our right arm down, reaching over with our left. Taking a couple of breaths here. If you want, you might bring your gaze up towards your top arm, if that feels okay on your neck. And then inhale, bring both arms up again. Reach up. Exhale to the other side. And notice if your top shoulder tends to round forward, can you pull it back so it's in line with your bottom shoulder? One more breath here. And inhale, come up. Exhale your hands down through heart center. So now we're going to do that again. We're going to do just one breath, one movement. And then when we come up through the middle, I'm going to invite you to fold forward and maybe letting it out with a big sigh. Big just to kind of let go what is no longer serving us, release it. And you could fold forward. I'll just show you first. You could rest your hands on your chair seat. You could rest them if your chair has rungs. You could rest on the rungs of the chair, your shins, or even come down to the ground. So up to you. Okay, so finding your strong, stable mountain again. Rooting down, breathing deep and even. And then inhale your arms up. Exhale, reach over to the right. Inhale, both arms up, gaze up. Exhale to the left. Inhale up, reach up, gaze up. Exhale, fold. Coming all the way down to the seat of your chair, the ground, wherever you need to be. So if you're taking care of your back, you might just come to the seat of your chair, or maybe just halfway, where your hands might be on your thighs or your shins. And I invite you, if it feels okay, just to explore this forward fold for a couple of breaths. Maybe you kind of sway gently side to side. Maybe you take opposite elbows. We call this taking a bind in yoga. You might really reach the crown of your head down and work on straightening the legs, but don't force it, and it's fine to keep the knees a little bent if you need to. So from here, let's all release any binds or movements we're doing, and we're all going to come up halfway. So again, that might be hands on the chair seat, or hands on the shins or the thighs. You just don't want to place your hands directly on your kneecaps. You don't want to push the knees back. So thinking about coming above or below the knees. Take one more breath here, noticing your core engaged to keep you lifted at this halfway point. And then let's fold in once more. We're going to reach our arms out like wings and lift ourselves all the way up now. All the way up overhead. Gazing up and then coming down, hands at heart center. Taking a couple moments here. And then from here, we're going to do that one more time, the whole thing a little bit faster, moving with the breath. Rather than holding in the forward fold. But again, I invite you as we fold forward to bring that exhale out through the mouth, the loud sigh. So inhale your arms up. You might take a variation of your side stretch now, holding your left wrist with your right hand, reaching up, and then reaching over to the side. And then inhale, come up. Switch the hands. So you don't have to do this. You can if you want. Hold the right wrist. Reach over with your exhale. Inhale up. Exhale, fold out with a sigh. Inhale up halfway, lengthen your spine. Exhale, fold back into your forward fold. Inhale, arms reach out and up. Exhale, your hands down to heart center. Arms down by your sides. So mountain pose is called Tadasana in Sanskrit. The forward fold is Uttanasana. The half lift is Ardha Uttanasana. And now we're going to move into some balance. So to start, I'm going to have us work from our side stretch that we were in before. We're going to lift our arms up, and then maybe you take this bind gently holding your left wrist and reach over to the right. And begin to shift the weight onto your right leg, and then lift your left leg out to the left. So the feet are staying parallel, the left toes are still pointing forward. You don't have to lift very much, you can even keep your toes on the ground. And then slowly come up, release the bind, switch your hands, gently hold the right wrist. Or, you could just have your left arm down by your side. Reach over. Slowly begin to shift the weight into the left leg, keeping the right foot flexed, reach it out and up. Toes pointing forward, so the feet are parallel to one another. Still breathing deep, and then when you're ready, slowly coming up, releasing the arms down. Great job, everyone. So sometimes when we do balancing poses, we tend to hold our breath. We want to still maintain that deep, easeful breath. Right? And that's really important when we're maybe in stressful situations or we're starting to feel depleted as we're holding our breath. So a simple way we can begin to replenish our well and help us get into a more meditative state is just by coming back to our breath. It's always there. It's a tool that is always available to us. So pay attention to your breath and try to keep that long, smooth breath as we move into another balance pose. We're going to begin to start by, actually before we come into it, we're just going to loosen up our hips a little. We're going to bring our hands to our hips. We're going to shift our weight onto our right leg. Lift our left knee. Now your toes could stay down or you could lift the foot, up to you. Just begin to do some circles outward with your left knee. And toes could stay down. Just feeling that external rotation in your hip, saying hello. Our hips often are tight, so having patience and compassion. And now we're going to place the heel of our left foot somewhere along our right leg. And our knee is going to turn out, our toes are turning out. So we're moving to tree pose, Vikrasana. Begin to walk your foot up your left foot up your right leg. And again, we don't want to be on the side of the knee. We don't want to push the knee sideways. So you could be on the lower leg. You could keep the toes down. You could come up to the upper thigh. And you could do this with your chair or a wall as support. So you could place a hand on a wall or your chair. And then from here, you might explore where you want to put your hands. There's a few different options. Hands at heart center. Maybe you begin to expand and lift up the branches of your tree, rooting down through your right leg, your tree trunk, and expanding up through your fingertips, your branches, having patience, having compassion if you wobble. Continue that deep, even breath. Finding that balance between active energy and then letting go of outcome. So letting go if you wobble. That's part of the practice. And when you're ready, we'll slowly come down. Ooh, ankle just cracked really loud. So take a moment now to just kind of shake out your standing leg. And then we'll come back to mountain for a moment. Breathe deep and even. And then shift the weight over to your left leg. Turn your right. First we're going to do circles with the hips. So first, hands to the hips, knees lifts up. You could keep your toes down if you wanted, doing circles outward. So we're getting some external rotation in the hip here, and this will help us when we go to place our foot. So now when you're ready, turning the knee outward as much as you can. So if your hips are really tight, the knee might be more forward and not forcing it. So just as much as is comfortable, turning the knee outward. The toes also, the right toes turn outward. And then the right foot might begin to walk up, but it's fine to always keep the toes on the ground. You could be on the lower leg, or you could come up to the upper thigh. And again, feel free to use support of a bookshelf, the wall, your chair. And notice if your hip goes out to the side. This tends to happen a lot because my foot is pressing against my leg. Finding that balanced energy where your leg is nice and strong and you're pushing your standing leg, your tree trunk, against your lifted foot to find that stability. Your hands might be at heart center. You might lift the branches of your tree. Taking a few deep breaths here. Finding your drishti, your gaze point. Finding this balance between action and reflection. Outward energy and inward energy. And when you're ready, bring your hands down. Slowly lower your leg. Shake out your standing. And just kind of shake it out gently, maybe sway side to side. Just moving around as we begin to find our mountain again. So we'll just do a few more poses standing. So let's come into some poses using our chair as a prop. So now we're going to have our chair in front of us, and we're going to widen our stance. So bring our legs wider, hands to the hips, toes are pointing forward. Figure out, how wide is wide enough for you. It could be really, really wide where your feet are underneath your wrists, or maybe you just, come a foot or two apart. And have your chair, far enough away where you can reach it, but not too close. What we're going to do is, starting with our hands on our hips, begin to pull your elbows back. So you're beginning to open your chest, lengthen your spine. Take a deep inhale here. And then exhale, hinging at your hips, begin to fold forward. Hips come back. Legs are straighter, maybe a little bent if your hamstrings are tight. And then from here, rest your hands on the seat of your chair. So we're about halfway down here. We're going to place our left hand in the center of the chair seat. It should be right in the center of your chest. And then inhale your right arm up into a twist. And it's fine if you need to bend the knees a little bit here and move the hips. So for example, my left knee is bending a little bit so I can really open up. Again, see what feels right for your body. And then when you're ready, bring your right hand down. Bring your right hand to the center of the chair seat. Inhale, lift the left arm. Let the hips move with it. You might bend your knees a little bit. Reach up. You might gaze up at your top hand, if that's okay, on your neck. Long, deep breaths. When you're ready, gaze down, bring your left hand down. And maybe just stay in the half forward fold, or if it feels okay, if you have space, you can walk away from your chair, maybe you fold deeper. See what your body needs. And then we're going to bring our hands back to our hips, elbows back. And with our core engaged, strong legs, lift up with a long spine. So from here, we're going to do a couple of poses again, this balance between opening up to the world, taking action, and then turning inward during more reflection. So we're going to turn our chair around, come around so that you're going to face away from the back of your chair. And you're going to begin to walk away from it. Your hands might be at the top, depends on the height, or you might hold on to it someplace. And you're going to walk away, engage your legs nice and strong. So you're engaging the muscles of your legs, drawing your navel in, engaging your glutes a little here. Begin to lift your chest and lift your gaze into a standing back bend, a standing camel pose, Ustrasana. So feeling strong and stable and open here. One more breath. Shoulders relaxing. Then you're ready. Bringing your gaze down, releasing your hands. Kind of shaking it out. Anything that feels good. And then we're going to turn to face the back of our chair. And we're going to do kind of a half lift or a down dog, depending on the height of your chair, with the back of the chair. So you're going to walk away from the back of your chair quite a bit, so you really can stretch your arms out and stretch and lengthen your spine. And if it feels okay on your neck and your shoulders, let your head release between your arms and gaze back at your legs. Your feet, your toes should be pointing towards the chair, and your feet should be maybe roughly hip distance apart or even wider. Your knees can be a little bent if your legs are tight, but you might work on beginning to straighten the legs, feeling that stretch in the backs of your legs. Breathing into your spine, into your shoulders, push your hips back. So this is the replenishing, the turning inward, cultivating our contemplation and our focus in dharana to help us with our dhyana, our meditation, and our samadhi. One more breath here. And then very slowly begin to lift your gaze. Gaze at your chair. Soften your arms and your legs. Walk towards your chair. Good. Come back to mountain. Deep and even. Another way that you can do this pose, if your chair maybe is on wheels or you don't have good space with the chair to do it, is you can use a wall. So you could bring your hands to start, like more of a down dog would be higher than shoulder height, and then walk away. And again, lengthening your arms, your spine, breathing into the backs of the legs, feet at least hip distance apart, head releases. And then for more of that half lift, your arms would come down lower, about shoulder height, and walking away here. So in the half lift, the Ardha Uttanasana, your torso is parallel to the ground. With down dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana, you're more at an angle. That's just another option that you can try. So let's come down to seated. We're going to work a little more with the breath and then end with the option on the floor. So if you have some space to lay on the floor, either on a yoga mat or a rug, and we'll use our chair for that as well. So we're going to work with a breath called bhramari pranayam, B breath. And this breath, I think, really helps us turn inward. It helps with that pratyahara, the withdrawal of the senses to go inward. And it can be very nourishing and calming for us. It helps us begin to come to this contemplative state and help us prepare for meditation. It's some research on it has shown that it helps calm the nervous system, it helps decrease stress, and it helps activate the part of our nervous system that's called the parasympathetic nervous system. So it calms the sympathetic, which is what you might think of as the fight or flight response. And it activates the parasympathetic, which we sometimes nickname as the rest and digest response. So it's kind of our system is functioning optimally, it's calm and relaxed. So we're going to try this breath now. And if it doesn't work for you, you can stop at any time. It also can be helpful for lowering heart rate and blood pressure, but if you feel like you already have really low blood pressure and this starts not to feel good, if you feel dizzy in any way, just stopping the breath. And it involves, I'm going to come a little closer, buzzing like a bee, a buzzing noise like a bee in the back of our throat. So it's an inhale through the nose like we've been doing, but then the exhale sounds like And I'm not sure how much that sound will come across through the technology, but doing the best you can to it's like a slight constriction in the back of the throat. You're thinking about the sound being in your throat. And you might bring the tip of your tongue to right at the top of the front teeth and think about that sound kind of coming back into the throat. So we'll do it together for the whole length of the exhale. Then we'll inhale through our nose, and then we'll exhale, do it again. And we'll do a few rounds of it. So I'll do it, but you know that your exhale could be shorter or longer than mine, so go at your own pace. But again, if it starts to not feel good, feel free to stop at any time. And let's take the same mudra that we did from the beginning, where one palm is on top of the other and the thumbs touch, dhyana mudra. So sitting nice and tall, maybe closing your eyes. If you want to keep them open, that's fine, but just gazing away from the screen to give your eyes a break. So let's inhale together. Again. Do 2 more rounds. Now I'm just coming back to that deep, even breath in and out through the nose. Just sitting quietly for a moment. Noticing the energy in your body, noticing how you feel. Again, that was Bhramari pranayam, deep breath. Great breath for helping to ease anxiety and stress, calm the mind, calm the nervous system. There's also other versions of the bee breath using different mudras or positions with the hands where you can put your hands over your eyes, close your ears so the sound really turns inward. So I invite you to try those variations on your own. So now I would like to end with a pose, if it's available to you, coming down onto the ground. So if that doesn't feel comfortable for you right now, you don't have the space, you could stay seated. If you do, we're going to use our chair, and we're going to come down to the ground, so gently make your way down, where you're going to be laying down on the ground, but your feet are going to be lifted and your heels are going to rest on the seat of your chair. So your calves and your heels are resting on the seat of your chair. You could also, do this with the seat of your couch or your bed, depending on the height. So you don't want anything to be too high where you can't rest your calves comfortably. So then you just rest your torso down, your head's down. You can always place a pillow or a blanket under your head. And then your arms just rest down by your sides. You could close your eyes here, or you could gaze softly up at the ceiling. Just feeling your back release gently into the floor. Feel your hip flexors and your psoas muscles, which are part of the hip flexors in the front, that tend to be really tight and do a lot of work. Feeling those release here. So this is a great pose for letting our psoas rest. They do so much work for us when we're sitting upright. They're contracting. We also stretch them in back bends in yoga, like the standing camel we did. But it's nice to have them just resting here. And this is a variation of legs up the wall pose. And if you're seated, just perhaps closing your eyes, sitting tall. And just take the next couple minutes for rest. Feel free to stay here longer if you want. Maybe you begin to wiggle your fingers, your toes, if you're ready to add in movement. Very gently and slowly, you might begin to bend your knees into your chest, bringing your calves off of the chair, and then just gently rolling over to one side, and pausing for a moment in a fetal position. And then very slowly press yourself up to seated. And now, up to you. You could stay seated on the floor, or you could come back up to your chair. If you're already in your chair, you can just stay there. And I invite you, as we end this class, to take time to check in with yourself, see what you need for your own self-care to feel replenished. To take time for contemplation and meditation, and to find your little moments of pure joy and connection, your moments of samadhi in your everyday life. So bring your hands to heart center now. Bow your head slightly, perhaps close your eyes. Repeat your intention to yourself. Release it out into the rest of your day. The light within me bows to and honors that same light in each of you. Namaste.